Want to know why? Ask how. Howard the Humongous. Republicans point at Democrats and claim that liberals and progressives are going for a redistribution of wealth. And that phrase scares the socks out of some of us. For example, Donald Trump says Bernie Sanders is going to take 90% of your income. Yes, if you earn $1,000, Bernie is going to leave you with only $100. That's what Donald Trump says. And said Trump, that's because Sanders is a communist. Well, first of all, is it true? Nowhere near it. Like most of the things Donald Trump says, it's pulled out of the same source that produces his nasal hairs. Or perhaps some hairs at a lower orifice. But in fact, this complaint about income redistribution has been a conservative theme since, guess what, 1870. And since 1870, it's been coupled to a racist notion. The idea that the government is taking money from hard-working white people and shifting it to the wallets of good-for-nothing, lazy, shiftless blacks. Where did this notion come from? It came from the era before the Civil War. It came from Southerners who fought to uphold an oligarchical system that kept masses in poverty, that kept those masses as slaves, and redistributed the income derived from slave labor upward to plantation owners. Now look, the South lost its war, but the South won the battle in rhetoric. Its plantation philosophy has been the conservative philosophy for an unbelievable 145 years. And for 145 years, conservatives have proposed a simple answer to income redistribution. They want to remove tax burdens from the super rich, usually in ways that increase the tax burden on everybody else. For example, for roughly 50 years in the 19th century, the conservatives wanted to tax folks like you and me through tariffs that would drive the prices of the things we bought up to double what they could have been in a free market system. Today, they want to tax us through everything from sales taxes and to flat taxes. Take the tax burdens off the super rich, say the conservatives, and the economy will soar. We'll all get rich. The economy will rip and roar. The number of jobs will increase. The economy, and we'll all benefit. But guess what? Conservatives have managed to win the White House and implement their remove the taxes from the rich policy 3 times. They did it in 1893. They did it again in the 1920s. And they tried to do it in the 2000s under George Bush, the little George Bush, not his daddy. Did it work? It produced the Panic of 1893. It produced the Great Depression of 1929 to 1939. And it produced the Great Recession of 2008. How's that for a track record? In other words, redistributing income, shifting income upward by giving the super rich huge tax breaks has been a policy of the conservatives. Yes, they've had a policy of radical income redistribution upward. And it has been terrible for the economy. There's a perfect example of the sort of income redistribution upward that conservatives have been coddling. It's CEO pay. In the 1920s, 1930s, and 1940s, Alfred P. Sloan was putting together the biggest company in the world, General Motors. He was General Motors' CEO, but he had a secret second brain. That secret second brain was one of the smartest corporate consultants in history. His name was Peter Drucker. And Drucker said point blank that the maximum CEO pay to produce company productivity was 20 times what the average worker earned. Yes, 20 times. Keep that figure in mind. How are we doing on the 20 times workers' pay measure of Peter Drucker? Well, in 1980, things had gotten violently out of whack. We were paying CEOs what 40 workers earned, not what 20 workers earned. You'd think that would be a problem. But take a look at today. Brace yourself. Today, America's CEOs earn what 354 workers earn. They earn 354 times the average worker's pay. That's a figure 17 times what Peter Drucker, one of the smartest people ever to apply his mind to American business, said it should be. 17 times. Now look, there's an argument for massive CEO pay. We're in a harsh and unforgiving marketplace. Companies need to compete globally, and that competition is fierce. American companies need to attract the brightest and most hard-working men and women around. Men and women who know something that is really, really rare. How to increase the value of a company. How to increase its market share. How to increase shareholder value. That is hard stuff to find. In fact, you have so to attract them theoretically, you have to pay them. You have to pay them really, really well. But is that true? Do you really need to pay a CEO what 354 workers earn to pull them into your company? Do you really need a CEO pay that's 354 times the size of a worker's pay? In order to have a successful firm, a firm that can compete in the vicious tooth and claw of the global marketplace. Take a look at two companies in South Korea for an answer. Hyundai and Samsung. Are those firms competing in the global marketplace? Are they successful? What's your judgment? Samsung is competing with American firms fist and claw and everything from smartphones to microwave ovens. The phone I keep forgetting to turn off during these Howard the Humongous episodes, the one that keeps beeping at me, is a Samsung. Yours may well be as well, but it's not just you and me. Samsung is number 7 on the Forbes World's Most Valuable Brands list, number 7. And Samsung's market capitalization is a staggering $199.4 billion. Nearly $200 billion. Then there's Hyundai. There are more Hyundais on the streets of my neighborhood here in Park Slope, Brooklyn, than all the cars from American manufacturers combined. Poor Hyundai, unlike Samsung, is only 64 in product recognition, product popularity, with a market capitalization of a mere $32.9 billion. Poor babies. But said the International Business Times, South Korean sibling automakers Hyundai and Kia reported the strongest year-ever sales growth among the world's big 8 automakers in November of 2015. Hyundai's up there in the top 8 worldwide, and it's punching beyond its weight. What does this have to do with CEO pay and income redistribution? Samsung and Hyundai are two of the biggest companies in the world. Have they done it by paying their CEOs what 354 workers earn? Not on your life. The average Korean CEO earns, get this, what 19 of his workers make. You heard that right. The average Korean CEO earns what 19 of his workers make. Let's put that another way. The average Korean CEO earns roughly 1/30 of what an American CEO earns. In other words, one American CEO earns roughly what 30 CEOs earn in Korea. And researchers studying CEO pay at Seoul National University feel that Korean CEO pay at 19 times that of the average worker is way too high. What's more, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution says that, quote, studies by several researchers show that companies with big pay gaps perform worse than firms with more egalitarian pay scales. The Journal-Constitution points out that Austin, Texas-based Whole Foods, you've heard of them, caps its salary and bonus at no more than 19 times its average employee's pay. Now, that cap doesn't include stock-based awards, but stock-based awards are based on the value you can produce in a company, not just on showing up for work. That 19 times of Whole Foods is within the range that Peter Drucker recommended. And it's the pay ratio the Koreans adhere to. Now, surely Whole Foods must be failing because of this low CEO pay, right? Not a bit. Whole Foods has 431 stores. Its earnings are growing at 8.3% per year, which is a really fat rate. And it's a $30 billion company with a CEO pay that maxes out at what 19 workers earn, not what 354 workers earn. But the real heavy-duty income redistribution may not be going on in the CEO class. It may be going to what Bernie Sanders calls the billionaire class. You've heard that, right? The world's richest you've heard about the fact that the world's richest 62 people are as wealthy as half of the world's population. Frankly, if those 62 people are producing value for all of us, if they are increasing the quality of our lives, then that may be fine. Maybe. But if we took a careful look at the amount of money pouring into the pockets of the new global oligarchy of wealth, I suspect we'd find some shocking inequalities. What's the bottom line? Conservatives are right. Redistribution of wealth is something to worry about. It can distort an economy. And when billionaires buy politicians and put them in their pockets, it can destroy democracy and everything this nation stands for. But conservatives are wrong about a couple of the details. Income redistribution is not taking money from the pockets of hard-earning whites and putting it in the pockets of shiftless blacks. It is taking money from all of us and siphoning us with a great sucking sound upward. Upward to a new aristocracy of wealth, a new plutocracy. Income redistribution is fattening the pockets of CEOs, and it may be fattening far more. Now look, if we are getting unique value, one-of-a-kind value out of these people, like we get it out of Elon Musk, like we got it out of Steve Jobs, then that's fine. But are we? This income redistribution may be fattening, utterly, unfairly fattening the billionaire class that Bernie Sanders talks about, the billionaire class that Bernie wants to pay what he calls its fair share. Yes, there is income redistribution upward. Is it fair? It all depends on the contribution of the people receiving it. Don't let them take our democracy away. This is Howard the Humongous, speaking to you from the future. It's your job and my job to make. Or, want to know why? Ask how. And now, for that. Sleazy, slimy, sneaky, impossible, insidious, awful, horrible, monstrous, little off button.